Hey guys, welcome to week number 2 in our Intro to Business class online. I just wanted to give you guys this quick video. It is Monday afternoon by the time you start watching it. And just wanted to give you an update on how last week went versus this week and what to expect for this week. First and foremost, I want to thank you for a quick start. I think 90% of the class has jumped onto the project, started doing the Learn Smart, started doing the work. So I'm just going to recap sort of what's expected. I think, like I said, most of you guys have jumped on it. You understand exactly what to do, and you're doing the right thing. As I mentioned in our first video, this is going to go by fast. So we're already in week number 2 of 8. So technically speaking, in another 2 weeks, we're halfway through the semester, and then it just goes downhill from there. So please, let's keep up. If you've fallen behind on week number 1, just move on. It's going to be better for you to move on than to try to catch up. And then I've found that it doesn't really benefit you because you've already lost points. So we don't go back. So just move on. I don't take late work. I know that sounds like I'm being a jerk, but with so many students and the class amounts that we do, it's better to move on. I promise you, we'll look at it at the end. If that's what's if that 1 week is what's destroying you, then we will have a discussion. Most of the time, if you continue to do your work, you're not going to be affected that bad. So I reassure you, I am not here to try to trick you or fail you. I'm here to support you, and I'm giving you the best advice that I can with what I've known of these classes. Let's just move on. All right, so week number 2, here's what we got. We are working on chapters 5 and 6, and of course our discussion. Before that, let me go back a little and explain to you how chapter 1 or week 1 ends up being. So week 1, we did our syllabus quiz. Guys, most of you have done that right. So you are in class actively participating. We tackled chapter 1. So you click on chapter 1 assignments. The Learn Smart, I had a few emails saying, what is that? Well, that's this first thing, and it really is like a practice. And a lot of people think that because it's not a task that they don't have to do it, but you do have to do it. And it's almost like there's no way to get anything but 100. You're asked to complete these questions. There's a little read about this tab. You go right to the book and read about that information. So it's a fairly easy process to do. So I'm not going to worry about it, but I think most of you understand how to do the Learn Smart. If you don't, let me know. It's super simple, but you do have to complete it for a grade. It's actually 30% of your grade, which if you look at the scheme of things, it's a free 100. So it's almost like a free 30% on your overall grade. Then you do your homework and your quiz. Remember, class, that a lot of these questions on the quiz might appear in the final. I'm just saying, if I was a student and my professor told me that the quizzes I take on a weekly basis are going to possibly appear in my final exam, I would just do something about that. But either way, you do whatever. You do you. You do you. So I'm just saying I would try to make sure that I have that as a possible study guide of some sort, but you do you. All right, so here we are. So we did that. In week 1, we had a discussion about tell me about yourself. If you're watching this video, you figured out that my video also comes in as a discussion. So in this case, I was one of the first ones to post, and here it is. And you guys have done an excellent job understanding this process. You watched this video, you replied, and that counts as part of your credit. So I haven't finished reading them. I usually read them the following week because that's when it closes. But then you have done your own posts. These are the posts that I have to go back and read. I usually try to reply to some of you. So I usually go back in there either that week of or the week after, and I put my own reply. So if you go, how do I get back to that discussion? The way to get back to that discussion is under this tab where it says weekly discussion. All right. So I would not recommend you go ahead on the discussions because it's usually tied into the chapter. I would stay in the weekly discussions, but this is where that discussion is. So you can go back and read any post that I have put on there for you. I will be grading those this week. So previous week's discussions will be graded the following week. Sometimes I do post in those weeks of that discussion, but it's not always guaranteed. All right. That being said, week number 2, we got chapters 5 and 6, same structure, guys. You got your PowerPoints and you have your chapter Learn Smart quiz and homework. 5 and 6. And this week's discussion really deals with ethics. And now in the business program, if you are part of the business program, the business management program, you will take an ethics class that goes into much more detail than this. But this is just an overview. And ethics, basically, you know, there's several different views of ethics. And I only grab these 2 and I use these consistently in classes because they're maybe one of the more popular ones that I feel are easy for students to understand. So there's the deontological portion of ethics, and then there's the utilitarianism. Deontological portion of ethics really comes from the root word of Dios, which if you're of another language or Hispanic or Latino, it sounds like the word God in Spanish, Dios. So Dios or dia is a word that's used as an obligation, a duty. And you do things because you feel there is a standard, a rule, something that tells you that this is wrong and it's always wrong no matter time, culture. It doesn't matter. Wrong is wrong and right is right. That's a deontological, ethical point of view, deontology. So deontology really states there is no excuse to do something wrong. Lying is always wrong. So if you're sitting there and going, yes, lying is always wrong, you're probably leaning deontological. However, I always use this example during my classes for ethics, and our ethics classes is a lot of discussion. And I start off the class by asking, is there ever a reason that you should lie? And most people raise their hands and say, no, wrong. It's wrong to lie. It's wrong to lie. And I say, is there ever a reason to lie? And then some people go, well, maybe. And then they start thinking about it. So even in scripture, and I'm not going into any Bible study here, but just giving an example, a lady, I'm not going to go into details, but a lady lied to save some of the people from Israel, some spies. So was she justified in her lie, or was lying wrong? So that puts you in a interesting sort of dilemma. Well, the other side of this ethical argument is called utilitarianism. Utilitarianism really says that the end of the situation is justified by the means. So in other words, you know, if at the end of it all, these spies were saved and people were saved and something good resulted of it, and a lot of people benefited from my lie, then the lie is okay. It's not that it's right, it's okay to lie. So another example of utilitarianism is if you say that you obviously don't believe in Santa. He's just a fictional character. And you tell your kids Santa's real to get them excited about behaving and Christmas and gifts. You're lying. You're lying to your kids. But why would you be allowed to lie in those situations and be okay with it? Well, that's utilitarianism. Another example of that is if there was no other way to get medicine for one of your children and you absolutely loved them and wanted them to survive and they needed this medicine desperately to survive, would you be willing to steal to save your child? Now, most people would be like, well, I'll work or I'll do this. Well, what if there was no other option? If you're put against the wall, this is the only option you have. Would you be able to steal to save your child? So as you can tell, those arguments can go on and on and on and on. Now, let me assure you, there's no possible way that I can imagine someone would be like, I am this 100%. Most of us, we're going to go back and forth in regards to these 2 points of views. There's times where we're going to say, no, right is right, wrong is wrong. And then there's other times we're going to be like, well, in this situation, I'm going to let it slide. So we joke around a lot in class about, you know, when is the right time to lie? If you're, you know, a husband or if you're a male and a female companion asks you, is this dress make me look fat? Well, gentlemen, I think that at that point in life, you should think of becoming a utilitarianism and say, honey, anything looks good when you wear it, and shut our mouths to keep the peace. So anyhow, that being said, this is our discussion. I want you to know that I am very strict about our discussions. Give me a solid discussion. Please do not give me a one sentence reply or one sentence post. You will not get credit for that. I've mentioned that in our previous videos. I will continue to remind you. This is a big part of your grade, and this is where I can tell that you are understanding the material. This is where we connect. This is where we get to know each other. Everything else is systematic. This here, this to me, is the key to this class, especially online, because we don't have the face-to-face talks that we do in the class. So this is a very important portion for me. I understand maybe other professors do it differently. This is my style. This is what I enjoy. This is where I see your growth. So please give me some good discussions here. Other than that, guys, I want to tell you guys that I appreciate you. This weekend, I spent it up in Chattanooga in a leadership summit for Gordon County, Calhoun, and I ended up going for breakfast right off of the downtown area. I recommended this little restaurant called the Mayan Grill or the Mayan something. Really good. It was like a fusion of Latin American foods. I went for brunch, had a great time. It was good, but I'm a big foodie, so I like finding new places to eat. I do recommend across the street from that is a Brazilian steakhouse. God, if you like steak, that's where you want to go. It's all you can eat steak. They come out with these skewers with food and meat, and they slice it right before you. But like always, coffee is always available, guys. My goal here is to add another coffee system. I have the Keurig, which is your standard coffee. On this side, I have your cappuccino maker, but I am about to get the Nespresso coffee maker, and I'm looking forward to it. So if you're ever in Dalton and you want to come and sit down and just chat about the class or life, feel free to come on by. Guys, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. If you follow football, you know that the Eagles lost, which I am extremely excited about because I am a Bears fan, and we messed up and we let them go through, and now they've lost. So go Saints. Talk to you soon, guys. You have a wonderful week. If you need me, you know how to get a hold of me.